One area where I continuously see founders confused, and specifically founders coming from a more traditional background or founders being helped by people from a more traditional background. There are so many moving parts when it comes to understanding the true cost of a conventional office space that more often than not you end up missing a few parts and then underestimating the cost for it. Or sometimes you buffer it so much that you overestimate that as well. So here is a video that I want to clarify some of that, right? I'm Shyam, the founder of GoFloaters. We are into flex office industry for at least 8 years now, and we help a lot of startups and SMBs find their office space across the country. Coming back to this question on what is the true cost of a conventional office space. So one, obviously the big part is the rent, right? So immediately see as your cost and you directly try to compare that against the flex office cost and see, hey, I'm getting 4,000 square feet at so many rupees per feet, but whereas here I'm paying 8,000 rupees per seat. Now do they even tally, right? And this is co-working is too costly or managed office is too costly. Yes, that comparison does the heavy lifting, but like I said, there are a lot of cost components that you don't take into account, right? So the first thing, obviously, it's not just the rent and the CAM. You have electricity. If you're doing the fit outs and this capex, it's not an investment, it's an expense, right? So just imagine that, right? There's no resale value there. So that is it. That's the third part. Then you look at all the other things that you have to make, and so on and so forth. There is like 18 number of line items that come into play when you calculate this entire cost of ownership of your office space. So when you arrive at the true cost of an office, it's important to kind of take in all of these into consideration before you even compare two things. And this is just the basics. Now look at the more complicated part of the calculation. The cafeteria has to be inside your office space. All the meeting rooms that you ever want, you would obviously anticipate the worst case scenario and say like, hey, my team has a lot of sales people, 5 of them are in parallel calls, I need multiple phone booths, I need multiple meeting rooms, we constantly have discussions, so we need multiple conference rooms, boardrooms. You go overboard on estimating the collaborative area that you need in your office, and these are assets that are not used around the clock. So the more you make it as part of your office, the more rent you're going to end up paying. So on an average, I've seen if you take up a conventional office space, if you need, let's say 10,000 square feet for building your conventional office, right? Probably need only 60% of that if you take a flex office space, because you can take a conference room from the co-working provider. You can take an event space from the co-working provider. Washrooms are common. You don't need to build it inside your office space. Cafeteria is common. The pantry is common. A lot of, the sit-out area, the lounge, the reception, everything is common, right? So it's not dedicated to you. The costs are shared amongst all the tenants from the co-working provider. The square feet itself is completely different when you compare conventional versus managed office space. So in a conventional space, you're paying the rent on the 10,000 square feet. You're paying the CAM on the 10,000 square feet. So a lot of costs are at the super built up area that you're taking from the landlord, right? When it becomes dedicated to you, then you are obviously spending on all of that. That is another big difference that people don't typically account for, because you're looking at, hey, I get 40 seats here, I get 40 seats there. So you're kind of doing a trying to comparison, but they're not including the conference rooms. And last but not the least is the opportunity cost. For a founder, if you are running this conventional office space, if the housekeeping staff doesn't come up on a given day, if the AC is dripping water, if the internet is down for a period of time. In fact, we had a customer called Codify. They are into stock market. For them, internet has to be on every time, right? If internet even goes down for 5 minutes, the whole business grinds down to a halt, right? And all their customers that they are helping them trade are not able to trade. And you can imagine the impact that can cost. So for you to ensure your internet is working on time, if a coffee machine is loaded up with milk or the milk gets spoiled, now as a founder or as a CXO, are you going to get involved in solving that? If you're going to get involved in solving that, and if you're going to make all of this work like magic for your teams, just imagine the opportunity cost of you spending that time in making your office work versus you being able to spend the same time in talking to your customers or talking to your team members and solving a much more important problem for your business. So there's no value you can put to it. In fact, I would say like every hour of a founder is equal to about $5,000 of value. So if you're wasting 1 hour in doing something, you've lost your business $5,000 of earning opportunity. If you see that way, then the mathematics get even more clearer for you when you compare a conventional office space and a co-working space or a managed office space. And then, like I said, liquidation of assets is when you leave the office space, what do you do with the assets that you have there? If you outgrow your current office, what do you do to the assets that you've already spent on, right? And again, will limit you at some point in time. They will become a constraint for your growth. You have to take up a square feet. Imagine what you will be 5 years from now and lease out that square feet now, which is also like capex that you're doing now, that for an asset that you're going to use fully fully utilized only 2-3 years from now. So all of this add up. My simple thumb rule for you is like, if you're less than 150, then seriously question your own decision or anybody else who's giving you the thought that let's go with the conventional office space. Think about that. And a lot of cases, an admin head that you have or a facility management head you have is recommending that you go for a conventional office space because they want to keep their job, right? If you go with a co-working or a managed office space, they probably lose their job in the process because which facility do they manage? What do they have to do? So that could be an underlying reason why they are probably thrusting a conventional office space to you as a founder. So think twice on that, measure thrice before you cut, as they say, and then take the call.